When Dr. Romine had told me there at Phillips University that he'd have a principalship for me, I was so unsophisticated it never occurred to me to negotiate with him a little bit as, hey, let's define principalship. Because although I had a designation of and was working with elementary school teachers in Jefferson County, my real interest has never been the lower grades. It's always been junior high or senior high. And I don't know which of those two I really prefer the most. I enjoy both senior high and junior high administration very, very much. But I'm just not as skilled in the elementary. Even though I was in charge of the elementary school teachers and designated as an elementary professor when I was at Phillips University. Well, you go into the school, and I don't know. I didn't go out there to use it as a stepping stone. Because I had no idea what my assignment was going to be. But I wonder if that school was being used as a stepping stone along the way by others. Because my predecessor, I noticed, was now I believe junior high, well he was, if I'm not mistaken in memory, a junior high principal. What I discovered very shortly after I was on board and school had started was that this was a very different elementary school than anything I'd ever been associated with. For instance, we threw whatever food wasn't used away, went down the disposal, with kids hungry and wanting seconds. So, you know darn well what I did. I went to the cooks and said, I don't know what this is all about, but when you have served everybody, you offer seconds to anybody that wants seconds. Oh my, a lady named Mrs. Cox got right in as soon as she heard about it and came into the office and let me know that that's not the way it's done here. And of course I said maybe it's not the way it has been done, but it's going to be the way it's going to be. We're not throwing food away when we're in a neighborhood that has some kids that are poor and hungry. Well, she said, if you'll just look around a little, you'll see that the kids that go back for seconds are fat. Well, you know, there's some truth to that. Poor people eat poor diets, and a lot of them do have a little belly on that looks like maybe they're fat. But I've been hungry in my life at one time or another as a kid, and I know darn well that if you're hungry, you're hungry. So, of course, I stuck to my guns. Well, then it wasn't very long, and we had our first snow or rain. And she's at the door, or people of her discipline are at the door, I don't remember. And I hear a kind of a ruckus out there and go out. You can't come in if you don't have on boots. And take them off at the door. What the heck is this all about? Well, we're not having those kids track in mud and dirt into this school. Well, I said, I'll tell you what. The decision of whether or not the boots are put on the kids is a parental decision and not a school decision. And if we want to, we can ask them to remove their shoes, but we're not telling people they have to have overboots. Oh boy, she stewed on that a while, came in after school and said, you know what's wrong with you? You've had too much education. You've had those psychology courses and you've believed what those psychology teachers say. Well, needless to say, Mrs. Cox and I didn't see eye to eye on a number of things. One day she was ranting and raving about something else, and she said, I just don't know what's wrong with the educational system. We had what you'd say the primary wing and the middle area, middle grade room wing. She said, we start them off right over here in our wing, and then they get over to that other wing and they begin to ruin them. And then we send them on up to junior high and they finish the job, and then in high school they just let them run wild. Well, I certainly wasn't going to try to teach any psychology lessons to Mrs. Cox, but I don't believe she had much in a child development course kind of work in her preparation to teach. There's just certain things that happen with kids as they mature. I don't care who's in charge. They're not going to be the same little creatures when they're middle school as they were in primary school. And they won't be the same in junior high that they were in middle school. And they won't quite be the same when they're in high school that they were in junior high. And God forbid, they're probably a little different when they get into college age. It's quite a world we live in, and a lot of things depend upon your perspective. It just all depends on what you come to expect. And sometimes what you come to expect isn't what you get, and you have to decide to be flexible or to be unhappy with what you see going on. I must admit that I don't think I made Mrs. Cox very happy. But I wasn't any more pleased with something I saw going over in the middle area, the wing with the middle schoolers. We had a lady over there named Mrs. Gump, but she was, and they were ability grouping kids from kindergarten on up. Oh, I don't like that. And Mrs. Gump taught the upper sixth graders, and between the efforts of others that taught the upper group, and Mrs. Cox, who certainly was capitalizing on it, that was her main motivation with kids, was that you're the best. And she had her kids so snooty that they didn't even want to play with other kids on the playground. They just wanted to play with the best. And when I approached Mrs. Cox on that, she tolerated that discussion a little while, and she said, "I guess you don't really know who I am." "Well, yeah, I thought I did know. I thought you were Mrs. Cox, sixth grade teacher here." "Well," she said, "I'm Mrs. Gump of Gump Glass, and I'm a millionaire's. And I teach because I love to teach, and I'll teach the way I want to." Well, we danced, and I think she won and led in all the dances. But had I stayed at that elementary school, I'd have begun to change all that ability grouping thing, and she would have had to either teach a normal classroom or be a very, very unhappy teacher.